everyone, it's Natasha Tottie Weston, entrepreneur, content creator, and 3 times best-selling author. Let's scratch the titles. I'm just the girl next door. If you follow me on social media, you know I'm all about being an open book, bringing current events from the real world and my world to the table to give my sisters from other misters insight, wisdom, and real talk about life, business, and all that other ish. The reason I created Table Talk with Tottie is because I spent the last decade mostly online talking to people, more specifically millennial women all around the world, about the ups and downs that come with building a brand, being a mom, and having a personal life. And what I eventually realized was that we all have many of the same questions, curiosities, and challenges. So here we are. On the Table Talk with Tottie podcast, we'll laugh, we'll cry, and I'm pretty sure we'll be pouring it up together on many occasions. It's about time that you got a relatable, unapologetic view on life as a creative living in the 21st century. On this show, you'll hear from some of my close friends, family, and guests that I've learned a thing or two from over the last decade. Get ready for some ahas, mm-hms, and yes, girls, because at this table, nothing, and I mean nothing, is off limits. Be sure to subscribe to the Table Talk with Tottie podcast right now on Apple Podcasts, and don't forget to leave a rating and review. Hey, you guys. Welcome to the Table Talk with Tottie podcast. I am your hostess with the mostest, Natasha Tottie Weston, and thank you so much for coming to hang out with me today. If you are an oldie but a goodie, welcome back to the show. If you are new to the podcast, welcome to the fam bam. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. If you are watching in YouTube land or on YouTube land, thank you so much for tuning into the video podcast. You also don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so that you do not miss any uploads. So now if you're watching on YouTube, you notice there's a little bit of a different situation going on here. You know, I kind of like it. It's giving me like not too bright, but just kind of like at home, homey vibes. And I love it. So I'm actually in a different room than I usually record in. This is my new closet / workspace / office. And so I could pretty much do anything in here and I'm absolutely loving it. Now behind the camera, it's a whole hot mess, but we're not going to talk about that. But yeah, so again, thank you guys so much for joining me today. It's been a long 2 months since I last graced you with my presence here on the podcast. But this time I'm not going to apologize to try to justify where I've been, what I've been doing that has pulled me away from, really posting new content, because I haven't really been that active on social media either lately. But in a nutshell and simply put, I've been living, you guys, brunching, dating, socializing, working, all of the things I have been doing, and I have been enjoying every moment of it. So super excited about that. So yeah, I'm not going to give y'all the long drawn out excuse about where I've been and what I've been doing and I, have these regrets, because I don't. And that kind of leads me into what I wanted to talk to you guys about today in this particular episode. And I've got my notes here, so if you're watching on YouTube, I know you see the paper. It's cool. It's just me trying to not go off on too many tangents. I want to keep this short, sweet, and straight to the point as much as humanly possible. But I've got some good stuff for you guys today, so don't forget to hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell. There's this thing that we do to ourselves that I have been intentionally trying to avoid doing, and that's putting pressure on myself to quote unquote pop out with something new when it's just simply not time, y'all. It has been a true struggle. I have been in the front of the struggle bus in this area because I am used to hustling, bustling, moving, and grooving, and not realizing the power of just having a seat. So as an entrepreneur, as a CEO, as a creative, I've often felt like if I wasn't doing something, something was out of alignment. And what I found to be the absolute truth is that is not the truth. And I think that that's just the world that we live in. And I think it's our responsibility individually to identify like when we're doing too much and when it's okay to have a seat. So today I want to talk to you about that. Yep, the feeling I just spoke about. And I want to share a few tips that have helped me to not only be comfortable with sitting still, but to help me understand the role that stillness plays in our overall purpose and in the overall visions that we have for our lives. And so I am excited to dive right into this. But first things first, you guys, this is the season 7 finale. Typically, we do 12 episodes a season, but because Toddy Tonight is coming back this summer, we have decided to just do 10 episodes so that we can, kind of shift gears real quick. So if you don't know what Toddy Tonight is, that is the digital talk show that I created last year, which was 2020, smack dab in the middle of a global pandemic. You guys love the show so much that I decided to bring it back for a second season. And so I'll be sharing the actual premiere date with you guys really soon. So make sure you're connected with me on Instagram and Facebook at OfficialTottie. Don't forget, we are now streaming on Amazon Music. And I'm going to say this every single time we do a show. We were one of the first podcasts to be invited on the platform, and I'm going to forever tell y'all that because that's such a big deal. And so shout out to Amazon, shout out to Amazon Music. The platform is amazing. So if you are an Amazon user, because I don't know who isn't, then make sure you stream the show. You can do it on your Alexa and all of that fancy stuff. So that's it. Now, I was trying to decide if I wanted to do like a what's been going on with me, but I think I'm going to skip that. I feel like most of you follow me on Instagram, but in a nutshell, Toddy Tonight's coming back. I've been counting down the days until virtual school is over because I am over it. And Tyler will be back in the first physical building of a school building when the school year starts again because your girl is over it. Spring break just ended. I did a Grow with Google webinar with my girl Kashira last week. It was amazing. So if you signed up for that, then shout out to you and shout out to Kashira for inviting me. And I've been dating, but I'm going to leave that for Toddy Tonight because y'all, y'all didn't tell me that dating was so ghetto. But anyway, we're going to talk about that in Toddy Tonight. So make sure you stay tuned for the show. So let's go ahead and dive into what I want to talk to you about today so that I don't spend too much time here. But I do think that this is very important. And I'm glad that I had that aha light bulb moment where I was like, girl, it is okay to not be popping out with something every month, every week, every quarter. It's cool, sis. Like, just chill. It is cool. And so I know that if I am experienced and have experienced that, then there are many of you listening and watching that have also experienced the exact same thing. And I want to talk to you about that today because a few years ago, I would have never ever guessed that I'd be having this conversation because I was all work and no play, y'all. But what I have found to be honestly true, and like I wish somebody would have sat me down and talked to me about this, is that you can have both. You can actually do both. You can work, you can play, 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 you can work, you can play. So for the last couple of months, I felt myself slowing down instead of speeding up like most of the entrepreneurs in my space was. I mean, we all know quarter one, new year, everybody is hustling, bustling, trying to do the most, trying to plan out for quarters. And I am a huge advocate for those things, but that was not my case this year. I wasn't posting that much on social media. I was turning down projects that I just simply didn't want to work on, you name it. A part of me started to feel really guilty, like I was misaligned because I wasn't hustling and bustling like normal or hustling and bustling like my peers and even some of my clients. Like I would see them like they were on top of their game. And here I was like struggling to figure out like, do I post on Instagram today? Or like, do I just take this project just because it was referred to me, but I really don't want to do it? Those are the mind battles that I was actually dealing with. And in the world that we live in, it's easy to get sucked into making output the focus and forgetting about making the process the focus, because the process is really what is going to position us, push us, and allow us to profit, right? It's not the output, y'all. And I think we have just become so accustomed to putting stuff out, doing the most, and those things not really having a lasting effect in our lives or in the people's lives that are connected to us, that has just become a routine thing, right? We are sucked into output and not process. We are sucked into output and not process. So I want to bring a few points to your attention today. You're going to need pen and paper, but y'all knew that. Y'all knew that already, because when have you ever come to this show and not need pen and paper? And so, y'all, I have prayed about this for weeks. I really allowed myself time to really think, like, what has really happened to me spiritually, mentally, emotionally in the last couple of months, and put that into words to be able to share with you today. And I'm telling y'all, it is the most freeing feeling when you understand that being still and not being pressured to pop out with something every day, every month, every week, every quarter, it is okay. As a matter of fact, it's actually going to position you even better than the people who are always doing the most, right? And so that's what I want to talk to you about today. So the first thing is that you have to know how to identify when you're in a still season. So I think I should probably define what I mean when I say a still season. So a still season, in a nutshell, are those times when you're not like as active on social media. That's one of the more obvious ones. It's that time where, you just kind of feel like you're not doing as much, you're not as productive as you typically would be in another season of your life, right? Or in another quarter or in another month, right? You're just less active in a nutshell. So, in my opinion, the first thing that you need to do is know how to identify when you're in a still season. And there are obviously a lot of different reasons. Everybody's way and process for doing this is going to be different. You're going to have different differentiators that are going to determine when you're in that still season. But I want to share with you 3 of the ones that I have found to be okay, you're in a still season, girl, have a seat type of deal. The first way to identify when you're in a still season is when everything starts to feel out of alignment. So you start to feel like the hold you had on your business where everything was running real smooth isn't running as smooth anymore. You start to become uncomfortable with some of the processes that you have in place for your business, or in your life in general. If you don't have a business, everything just starts to not feel as cushy or as comfortable anymore. The second way to identify when you're in a still season is that you start to feel this pull and this passion and this desire to spend more time in other areas of your life. So of course, I'm an open book. I'm gonna be one thou with y'all. I started to feel an extra urge to see the guy that I was dating more, to spend more time with Tyler, to spend more time in my personal life and less time in my business. I started to feel that urge, and it was to the point where I won't say I didn't care, but I definitely didn't stress as much about the business. It, of course, still ran, thank God, but I didn't put as much emphasis and stress on, okay, if I don't work on Friday, it's not going to make or break anything. I'm not going to feel like I didn't have a productive week. But instead, I'm going to go do a date night, or I'm going to go do this with Tyler, or I'm going to go do this with my cousin. So I definitely started to feel a pull to spend more time in other areas of my life. The areas for you may be totally different, but it definitely depends on where you are in life and what you got going on, of course. The third way that you can identify when you're in a still season is that you lose clarity on what you're supposed to be doing. And this is the key, and the solution or the solutions don't come quickly, which leads to you being frustrated. So for me in particular, I knew that my business was getting ready to pivot again. I knew that I was going to be in a transition again where I would have to get rid of some of the services I was offering. I was going to have to charge a lot more than I was charging. I was going to have to hire some team members. There were a lot of transitioning things that I knew mentally I was going to have to do. I was going to have to make some decisions. And I was really going between, I had taken a really amazing class, and it was like, it shook me because I realized that I was working a lot harder than I needed to. And then I was between that and making another decision in my business. And so I felt like I was just spiraling out of control with having to make decisions and not really sure what decision to make, and also feeling like I needed to make those decisions immediately. But I couldn't make those decisions immediately because I didn't have the clarity and in the direction that I needed to make those decisions. They weren't decisions that I could just make and not reap a consequence later if I hadn't taken the time to make the right decision. So those are the three ways that I personally can identify when I'm in a still season. Everything starts to feel out of alignment. I start to feel a pull to spend more time in other areas of my life. And I lose clarity on what I'm supposed to be doing, and the solutions don't come to me very fast. Now, typically, when a solution comes to you really fast, then it's a quick adjustment. But when you find that it's a decision that you have to actually spend time marinating and doing the research and actually just sitting on for a while, this is 9 times out of 10 a great indicator that you are in a still season. Then next, I want you to ask yourself this question, especially as social media, Instagram junkies. Ask yourself, if everyone's talking, then who the heck is listening? If everyone's talking, then who is listening? And I often feel this way whenever I click on Instagram. It's like everybody is doing all of the talking, and I just don't feel like anyone's listening. So we're always taught, at least I've been taught, or, the example has been set, that you're always supposed to be in front of what's happening in your industry. You're always supposed to know what your competition is doing. And these things are 1000% true, right? To some degree. However, sometimes we're in front of things, guys, that we're not even meant to be associated with. But because it has become the norm, it has become routine, we are just aligning ourselves with every little thing and every little person and every little women's empowerment group. And 9 times out of 10, y'all ain't got no business in that joint. And that's on what Mary had a little lamb. Okay? So it reminds me of my son. Of course, because he's virtual schooling, I get to hear, the dialogue between him, his teacher, his classmates. And I'm forever telling this little boy, if you're always talking when the teacher is talking, then how will you hear what the actual assignment is without having to go back and ask him 50 million 11 questions? If you're always talking, how are you listening? You cannot do both at the same time, because even if you do both at the same time, you're not comprehending in the way that you need to comprehend to execute effectively. If you're always talking and you're never listening. So the role that stillness plays in our life, this is where we get our actual assignment from God. I believe in God. I serve God. So that's me. I don't know who you serve, but this still time is where you actually get your assignment from God. It's like being in school, right? You have to be assigned a teacher to get an assignment. If you don't have a teacher, you have no assignment. Who's going to give you the assignment? So the role that stillness plays in our life is where we get our actual assignment from God. This is the time where we wait on Him to give us instructions on what moves to make, what content to post next, what collaboration to say yes to next, what type of client to say no to. This is all a part of waiting on your specific assignment. Not the general assignment that you get on Google, but the specific assignment. This is how you know what book to write next. This is how you know what moves to make next. These are all this is just so important, and this is the role, and this is what I meant in the beginning of this episode, where I said it's not only important to become comfortable with still seasons and not having to pop out all the time with something, but this is where you understand the role that still seasons play in our purpose and in our vision. This is when and where God gives us our specific assignment. Stillness saves time. Imagine just popping out with something with no specific assignment, right? You just Googled something and it gave you something, and boom, now you find out that you weren't supposed to collaborate with that person. You weren't supposed to partner with that brand. You weren't supposed to write that book at that time. You weren't supposed to do this or that. When all you had to do was sacrifice a month or two or however long your still season lasts to listen and get the specific assignment handcrafted just for you to avoid all of that unnecessary time waste. So stillness saves time. This is how I knew when it was time to pop out with Tottie tonight versus my podcast in the middle of a pandemic. I had to be still for a while to say, okay, I'm a little uncomfortable. I still need to communicate with my audience, but I realize that they want face-to-face interaction as possible. So I'm gonna have to put my podcast, which is my comfort zone, to the side, and I'm gonna have to do this digital talk show so I can reach the people and still get my message across, right? I had to be in a still season to get that assignment. And for that to execute as effortlessly as it did, that could only be an assignment that came from God, specifically handcrafted for me, my brand, and my legacy. I digress. So the third point that I want to make here is that in order to lead effectively, because anybody can lead, in my opinion, but in order to lead effectively in whatever capacity that may look like for you, you have to first experience. And in order to experience, you have to live. There are some of you who are in such a rush to become the next top leader that you're forgetting that you actually need experience to be that top leader. You have to position yourself to hear and see what is missing so you can fill the void. Y'all got to stop reading a book on Monday and teaching a course on it on Friday. Baby, that is not experience. And some of you are in such a rush to have a platform that you are forgetting to live so you can get the experience to have the effectiveness you need to infiltrate the world and the lives of other people. Simply put, don't be anxious to be the top leader. Focus on being a leader who leads with real experience. Everybody wants to be woke, but the truth is, some of you need to go to sleep so you can hear what God is saying to do in the next season. It's okay to go to sleep, baby. It's good for the skin. It's okay to take a nap. It's okay. I get some of my best revelations in the middle of the night after getting a good night's sleep. You don't see Beyonce or Jay-Z popping out with a new project every month, y'all. Like, you just do not. They are behind the scenes living and listening so that they know what to create next. Beyonce knows what to say in the lyrics of her pop-up albums because she's not focused on attending the BET Awards, the Grammys, the VMAs, and all of the other, little award shows. She's not focused on making a million appearances. She's in the background practicing, building her team, paying attention to what's happening in the culture so that she can speak directly to her fans when she does pop out. That is why Beyonce is Beyonce, because Beyonce is not focused on doing all of the things. Beyonce is focusing on listening, paying attention, knowing where to pop out, who to pop out with, so that when she opens her mouth, when she shows up in any building, it leaves a lasting impact. Your favorite influencer or YouTuber knows what type of tutorial to make or what style haul to post because she goes on vacation with her friends and her family all the time. She's living. And then she pays attention when she posts her pictures to the comments, the questions, the DMs that her tribes leaves, the questions that they're asking. That's how she knows what type of content is going to do well. I only know what topics we're going to talk about in Tottie Tonight Season 2 because I've spent the last 2 months living, you guys, paying attention and listening to what my community, you guys, are up to, the things you need more education on, the conversations that we need to have in order for you to elevate in your life and in your business. Still seasons are crucial. They are a part of the plan. And you first have to identify when you're there so that you can listen, hear, get direct, specific instruction so that you can move and navigate effectively and really make an impact in this world. You have to live, you guys. It's okay to take a break. Every season, winter, fall, spring, summer, they all are important for different reasons. They all play a role. They all play a part. And so I want to encourage you today to embrace your still season, because it's just as important as your busy hustling and bustling season. And I know we all want to make all the coins. We all want the most visibility. We all want to be doing great. But if you neglect your still season, you're neglecting your purpose. It's never going to be fulfilled. You have to understand how important this time is in your life. So with that being said, that is episode 82, the season 7 finale. I just want to thank you guys so much for spending the season with me. I can't even put into words how appreciative I am that you allow me to plant seeds in your life. Rather that's here on the podcast, on my YouTube channel, on my social media platforms. I am super appreciative, and I'm excited to connect with you on Tottie Tonight Season 2 coming very soon. So I got a couple of requests. First, I want to ask you to share this episode with a friend. Share it with someone who you know is probably experiencing a still season. Share this episode and tag me so I can show you some love. I also want to make sure that you guys subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite podcast directories and also on YouTube. And third, make sure you connect with me on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter at OfficialTottie. All of my contact information will be down in the description box. And then don't forget to go over to natashaweston.com and download my free content playbook. It has my 3 C's content creation process, plus 30 plus content experiences that you can create on social media in any industry, no matter what that industry is. So that's my gift to you guys for just showing me so much love and being so supportive. I am very excited about season 8 of the podcast, which will probably be coming back in the fall as usual. I think that's all I've got to say today. Shout out to you guys for loving on me all the time and just rocking with your girl. I am very, very, very appreciative. So until season 8, we are out of here. So I love you guys so much, and I will talk to you soon.